Welcome, everybody. I'm glad you could join us tonight for our Estancia Zone Information Night. My name is Kirk Bauermeister, and I have the greatest job in the world. I am principal of Estancia High School. We, again, just thank you for coming out and joining us tonight. I would like to start by introducing some important people that we have with us. First of all, Newport Mesa Unified School District Board President Karen Yelsey. I know where Karen is. I think she's in the back. Oh, back over here. Board member Vicki Snell, coming up in the back. Board member Judy Franco, just walking up now. Board member Walt Davenport. Board member Martha Fleur. And I guess, I don't know how to say it, I guess soon-to-be board member Charlene Matoya. And I would also like to recognize former school board member and a champion and pioneer of childhood education, Tom Egan. Thanks for being here. I believe also I saw Costa Mesa Mayor Pro Tem Steve Mensinger. Thanks as always for your support. Again, my name is Kirk Bauermeister. I'm the principal here at Estancia High School, and I believe that my job is to build a school that our community wants and a school that our community deserves. And so the only way to do that is to go out and to be in the community and to talk to people and listen to them about what they want from their neighborhood school. So that's why you'll see me out at fields, you'll see me at PTA meetings, you'll see me anywhere where they'll let me talk about Estancia High School. And again, anytime if anybody wants to talk to me, I'll give my phone number out later. You can give me a call, set up a meeting, whatever. I'd love to talk to you if you have any great ideas about how to improve Estancia High School. I will always be all ears. The reason for tonight's meeting is it seems out in our community there seems to be some misinformation about our school. I keep hearing about the failing schools on the west side. And when I hear that, I know that it's one of two things. Either we're not doing a good job getting our message out, which is the reason for tonight, or maybe we just don't understand educational data. So that's really where we're going to start tonight, is looking at some educational data so we have a better understanding of what that means. Okay, so the first number, and this is the one number that everybody will look at, is called the Academic Performance Index, the API. And it will give you one number that is a number for your whole school. And that's the number that sometimes people will look at and say that our schools are failing. But it's just one number in a whole lot of data. And so we really want to show you what those numbers mean. So we have a school-wide number, and there's also subgroup categories. We have Black or African American, Asian, Hispanic, Latino, white, socioeconomically disadvantaged, English learners, and students with disabilities. Now, which of these categories, these four demographics, consistently score the highest on average? Anybody know? Asians consistently score the highest. What's next between white, Hispanic, and black? White. Let me get my thing. And next is Hispanic Latino, and then Black African. Again, those are averages across the board. And then if you look at socially disadvantaged, they will score a lot lower than people that aren't socially disadvantaged. English learners score lower than non-English learners, and students with disabilities, as we know, score the lowest. So those are the groups that are looked at that make up this API score. Now, at our school, we had 816 students take the test. The data I'm going to give you is from 2013, because that's the last year we had the CST test. We didn't have it last year. The CST test is the California State test. In that test, in the high schools, our 9th, 10th, and 11th graders would take an English test, a math test, a science test, and a history test. The English portion would count for 51% of that score, math would be 30%, science was 9%, and history was 9%. If a student scored in the advanced, they would get 1,000 points, proficient was 875, basic is 700, below basic is 500, and far below basic is 200. So they would look at all of those tests and the scores that all of those kids scored and then that would be your average across the board. So looking at our students at Estancia in 2013, in 9th, 10th, and 11th grade, we had 816 students. We had 15 students that were black, which is less than 2%. We had 12 Asian students, which again is less than 2%. Hispanic or Latino, we had 603 students, which was 74%. White, 153 students, 19%. Socioeconomically disadvantaged, 74%. English learners, 49%. I want to let you know, too, about English learners. English learners doesn't mean the kids can't speak English. It means the first language that they spoke at home was not English. Okay, so out of those 49%, 3 of those kids were our valedictorian scholars. 2 were Hispanic, 1 was Vietnamese, who started out speaking a language other than English. So just because they're English language learner doesn't mean that they don't produce at high levels. Students with disabilities, we had 110 students, or 13% of our student population. Now, if you have all Asian and white kids in your school, do you score above or below the average? Probably going to score above, right? If you have Hispanic students, predominantly below or above the average. Probably below across the board, right? And understand that you could have a student that is Hispanic, also socioeconomically disadvantaged, also an English learner, also a student with disability. So that score would bring our average down 4 times. School-wide API 760, that was our API score in 2013. Now, is that a good score or a bad score? Kind of depends on what the score was the year before, doesn't it? So if our score the year before was 740 and we went up to 760, would that be good? Yes. If it was 800 and we dropped to 760, would that be good? No, right? It was 740 before we went up 20 points. Our black students had an average of 788, and again, remember, it was less than 2%, so when you have that few kids, it can really skew the number. Our Asians were at 870, again, that was less than 2% of our kids. Hispanics, 741, which went up considerably. White was 822. Socioeconomically disadvantaged was 746. English learners, 689. And students with disabilities, 608. Now on Saturday, my wife and I are going to run in the Santa Barbara Half Marathon. Do we have any runners here? Half marathon runners? Okay, so when I finish that race, what is the first thing that I'm going to look at that I care about? My time, right? So when you look at educational data, the most important thing to you should be, how is my child doing? Now, the second thing I'm going to look at after I finish is what? My age group, 50 to 54-year-old males. I'm going to see how I did against adults my age. I still feel like I'm a kid, right, if I can run that far. And so again, as a parent, the 2 numbers you should be looking at is, how is your student doing, and how is the subgroup that my kid is, how is that group doing? And again, if you look at our subgroup scores, we do very, very well. Now, I'll tell you also, there is no greater experiment in democracy than public education. Doesn't matter who comes through our doors, we will educate them to the best of our ability, and we will do a very good job at it. Now, similar school rank. Remember I said when I finish that race, one of the first things I do when I get home, I'm going to look at how I did compared to the 50 to 54-year-olds. And so that's looking at apples to apples. And so similar school rank is a really important number to look at how schools are doing. What they will do is they will look at our school, look at our demographics, socioeconomics, and pick 100 schools that are like us. And then they rank us against those 100 schools that are like us. How are we doing against schools that are like us? And so what I did is I actually did it by zone. And I looked at the Estancia Zone, Costa Mesa Zone, Colonel Lamar Zone, and Newport Harbor Zone. All the scores are similar schools and averaged them out. The Estancia Zone had an average of 7.1. Costa Mesa Zone, 7.0. Colonel Lamar Zone, 6.5. Newport Harbor Zone, 6.2. So schools with a similar rank of 10. So again, looking at each of our schools, looking at schools that are like them, which schools were at the top of the heap? Well, there were 2 schools in Newport Mesa that had a 10, Estancia and Killiebrook. There were 3 schools that had a similar school rank of 9. The 3 schools were Sonora, Twinkle, and Victoria. So if you look at those 5 schools, they're all from Costa Mesa. If you look at the 3 that are in bold, they're all from West Side schools. So you can see the West Side schools do a very good job of educating their kids. Now, again, we want to look at a lot of different numbers, not just one number when we judge schools. So let's look at the U.S. News and World Report. Top schools of 2014. And so they look at a number of different things, but it's basically about kids going to college. How well a job are you doing of getting your kids to college at your school? And so if you look at the first column, it's the school. We have Corona Del Mar. They were ranked 37th in the state, 222 nationally. 62% of their kids were college ready. 71% had an AP rate of 3 or more. They had 16% minorities and an API of 902, and their API went down by 4 points. So let's get down to Estancia down here, which, by the way, by U.S. News and World Report was ranked one of the top 6% schools in the nation. So if we look at Estancia, the school right above it is Marina, pretty good academic school in Huntington Beach, and below us is Edison. And again, you'll see that we have 29.2% of our kids that were college ready in 2013. That number is going to go up significantly next year. In that year, we had 42.2% of our kids that got 3 or better on the AP. This year, we had 62.2%, huge jump. So we will really jump in that next year. The other number, 38% of the AP rate. Last year we had 323 kids sitting in AP classes. This year we have 540 kids sitting in AP classes. And so that number will jump a lot next year as well. So again, with those 2 numbers, you should see us increase greatly in the U.S. News and World Report college-bound kids. So, reasons to send your kids to Estancia High School. This Inspiring Students to Succeed is our purpose statement. You'll see it on the wall up there that our staff came up with a couple years ago. We asked them, why do you get up in the morning? Why do you come to school as a teacher? What's your job? And this is what they came up with, Inspiring Students to Succeed. It's a pretty good reason to come to school every day. Then we asked our teachers, we asked our parents, we asked the communities, if you could go out in the community and tell people 3 reasons to send your kids to Estancia, what would those be? And so these are the top 3 reasons that these groups came up with. A strong sense of community, and you'll hear our parents talk about that later. And endless opportunities to succeed in academics, arts, and athletics, and I'll cover that later in more detail. And then the third one is a rigorous college prep curriculum, our signature academies, advanced placement and honors programs, which I will talk about later as well. That's kind of our data presentation to kind of show you, again, all of the things, all of the data points that we look at, especially now that we don't have the CSTs anymore. And again, to show you that Estancia High School is doing a great job of educating our kids. We have people from all over the country come to see what we're doing with our kids around reading and writing because, again, the scores that our kids have been amazing. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Gabe Del Real, principal of Adams, to talk about what our feeder elementary schools are doing to prepare kids for college and career.
Gabe, can I advance it? I'll give it a shot. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for being here. It's great to see everybody taking time out of your busy schedule to be here tonight with us. Like Kirk said, my name is Gabe Del Real. I'm the principal at Adams Elementary School, and we're one of the 6 feeder schools, elementary feeder schools in the Estancia Zone. What we do in the Estancia Zone is we collaborate very closely as a zone of elementary school principals. We're constantly meeting with each other. We're on the phone with each other. And a part of that effort is to really build off of each other's strengths. And when we started talking about how we wanted to prepare for this evening to share some of the great things happening at our school, we realized that we do so many things in common in our zone that it made sense to have a zone elementary presentation. At the end, we'll each have an individual slide for our school, but for the first few slides, as we cover the concept of STEAM, we are going to just share with you some of the things that happen in common throughout our elementary schools. STEAM is a focus on science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. And STEAM is something that is a heavy focus in education. It's something that a lot of schools are spending time trying to develop programs to cover STEAM. And STEAM is something that we definitely have a focus on in our elementary schools. So the first S in STEAM, the first concept is science. And one of the things we focus on is we have a really neat connection in our school, in our zone, where we can go to the Tiger Woods Learning Center. That's something that's normally available to schools in Anaheim, but it's an amazing opportunity for students. They go, and it's a week-long experience. They go every day within the hours of the school day, and they are provided bus transportation back and forth. And they engage in forensic science opportunities, experiments. They have a crime that they have to solve. They have some lab experiments that they go through. And this is all at the Tiger Woods Learning Center, something that's available to schools in our zone. We also have a science camp for students. We send kids to science camp. And so when you talk to kids, they'll tell you about the great food in the cafeteria. They'll tell you about goofing around with their friends in the dorms at night. But believe it or not, they do actually learn some science while they're there as well. And so that's an important opportunity for them. And then we have weekly science lessons with a specialist. So every elementary school has a designated science specialist who comes to the school site, and we have a full science lab. It doesn't look like a traditional classroom. It looks like a science laboratory with lab tables, a bunch of beakers, microscopes, everything you would expect to see in a science lab. And students are engaged in 3rd through 6th grade in science lessons every single week. And then the teachers back in the classroom follow up with classroom lessons. Another thing our teachers do, and this is an example of their dedication to science, is they participate in Inside the Outdoors, which is an opportunity. If they apply for the grant, Inside the Outdoors will come out to your school site and provide some assemblies for students, and then the kids go back into the room and the teachers reinforce those concepts with lessons and projects that follow the same standards that are in the Inside the Outdoors program. And at this time, I'd like to turn it over to our next presenter from Victoria Elementary School, Dr. Peralta.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for being here. It is a real privilege for me to be here. I'm going to talk about the technology in our elementary schools. You know, when we talk about technology, I'm showing my age here, but when I was in school, graduated high school in 1985, implementing technology was just an enhancement. It was maybe using a spreadsheet, a word processor. But we know today, through educational research, that technology to be used to really enhance learning means it needs to redefine the way our teachers are instructing. And right now, all of our elementary schools have either implemented one-to-one learning or have submitted technology plans to implement that this year. So here's what that looks like. It means that our teachers are using iPads, for example, to not only enhance their instruction, but to change the way that they teach and the way that their students learn. The other component of one-to-one is one-to-one technology, and that is putting a Chromebook, for example, in the hands of students to use, again, to change the way that they learn and produce work. Google Drive, Google Documents are becoming ever more important because this is how students can not only turn in work, but use it to redefine learning. For example, Socratic seminars, literature circles. that redefine how we teach and how we learn. So that is what we're doing on the front with technology. Oops. Engineering. This is really exciting for me. For those of you that don't know, I came from the other side of town. Don't hold it against me. I was in the Costa Mesa zone for 6 years and proudly served as principal at Costa Mesa Middle School. During my tenure, while I've accomplished a lot, probably the most memorable accomplishment of mine is the inception of the Delta program in the Costa Mesa zone, and that is a science, math, and technology pathway. One of the things that we brought was robotics, and I worked with the same colleague at Explore Ocean, Dr. Wendy Marshall, to bring those same opportunities to the Estancia zone. So my elementary colleagues, we have all submitted a grant to bring sea perch robotics to our schools. Now, here's what's cool about this. The educational research is clear on learning, and that is students need to take their science and their math skills, and they actually need to apply that. Okay, not just spit it out, but actually apply it in the learning process. That's what robotics affords kids, is they're applying their math and science skills in the context of robotics. The other really cool thing about the robotics is that they're practicing what we call 21st century learning skills that isn't necessarily measured in schools, and that's their ability to work as a group to problem solve. They have to be able to communicate with one another, and they have to be able to come up with a consensus and to solve problems. That is all done through the experience of robotics. And then at the end of our robotics unit, we put on a showcase, a culmination activity. And I'm working with Dr. Bauermeister to have a day here at the Estancia pool for our elementary schools to have a competition to showcase their robotics. Very cool thing indeed. So that's what's going on our technology and robotics front. And now I would like to turn it over to my colleague, Matt Brosley, to come on up and talk about what's going on in California. Thank you, sir. Sorry about butchering your name, buddy.
All right, good evening. My name is Matt Brazenly. No, it's not phonetic at all. I, too, am from the other side of town. I went to Costa Mesa High School, and I have to say that I am so proud to be a part of the Estancia Zone. It is a fantastic place to be. So I have the honor of talking about the arts programs in the zone, and this is an area where we are thriving. Kids have so many opportunities within the arts, particularly with our bands, our orchestras, and then our show choir and our drama productions. Inside of those band programs, which are continuing to grow at our schools, kids are learning new instruments. They're taking on the responsibility of caring for those instruments, and they're actually reading the music that's on the screen and in front of them as well, and they're performing together. We're also extremely excited about the opportunity that Victoria's band and California's band have for tomorrow, which is they're going to be playing with the Estancia band at the football game. So we're continuing to grow those programs and get them out there. Inside of our performing arts also falls our drama productions, our show choirs, and this is just building kids' their confident level with speaking in front of large crowds like this. I mean, opportunities that I didn't have as a kid that I can see these kids just thriving in these areas. So the opportunities that we have for these students to be involved in performing arts is continuing to grow, and we're extremely excited about it. The next area that I get to the privilege of talking about is math. I happen to love math. And I happen to love the change in math with the Common Core. I know that it can be frustrating, especially at the elementary level when your kids are coming home with homework that you may be having a hard time helping them with. But the things we're trying to do with Common Core math is really to get kids to think critically. And like Dr. Peralta said earlier too, we want these kids to be able to use these skills that they're working with. We want them to be able to adapt them to real life problems. Our students are engaging in procedural lessons, conceptual lessons, math tasks on a weekly basis. We've also formed something in the Estancia Zone called the Estancia Zone Math League. So all of our elementary schools in the Estancia Zone have a math team of 4th to 6th grade students, and they went through a practice run on Tuesday at Twinkle, a competition that was put on and started by Joe Havens, a counselor here at Estancia. And the kids are in teams of about 6 to 10, and they're working together to solve problems, and then they also have opportunities to work independently, but they're actually competing around math, which is just fantastic. And it was really exciting to see, and it was also exciting to see the parents, because they got the questions as well, and they were trying to solve them along with the kids, and they couldn't do most of them. My next area that I will talk about is our Beyond the Bell, our extracurricular opportunities that we have for students. And yes, they are out there. Anywhere from academic chess to brain builders and brainstorm Lego programs where we're working with robotics and engineering. We have karate and Spanish, and we also have opportunities for our kids to get involved that are in the ROCKS program, our recreation program run through the city, where they can play basketball and get involved in cheerleading. And of course, everybody loves the annual Pilot Cup that happens every year in late spring. So Beyond the Bell opportunities are definitely alive and well within our zone, and those kids can access those on a regular basis. All right, I will now turn it back over to Dr. Peralta, and he will be speaking specifically about Victoria Elementary School.
So why Victoria Elementary? Well, I've served 3 short months there. But in those 3 short months, I can tell you, in my 17 years as a public educator, I have been extremely impressed with the quality of the staff. You're not going to find a more dedicated staff. You are not going to find more dedicated parents. I've grown a great respect for the staff, the parents, and the best kids on this side of town. Sorry, guys. So talk about numbers. Well, last 3-year average, we've averaged 855 in our API score. All of our subgroups, every single subgroup has been at 800 or above, which the state of California deems as an exemplary school. Our white Caucasian subgroup actually scores at an average of 925. That puts us right in line with any school in this area, in Huntington Beach and Newport Beach. So our numbers speak for themselves. But let's take a look at the past. There's been a tradition of excellence at Victoria. We've been recognized as a National Blue Ribbon School. We've been recognized as a California Distinguished School multiple times. We've been a Title I academic achievement school several times. Also, there's stability at Victoria. We have very low teacher turnover. We've hired like 2 teachers probably in the last 5 to 7 years. And the last 20 years, there's been 3 principals. You're not going to find that kind of stability elsewhere. Present, what's going on at Victoria right now? We mentioned the robotics. I'm really excited in bringing our staff and community together to talk about the development of the whole child. I'm a big believer in our kids being servant leaders. They need to go out and become something bigger, a bigger part than just themselves. They need to contribute to the community and to the school. If our kids do that now, they will do that in middle school, high school, and as adults. As my colleague had said here, our performing arts, our band and choir is going through a rebirth right now as we've acquired the services of Mr. Nick St. Royal, who has done amazing things with previous bands and choirs in our district. And the future is bright for Victoria. We're developing the 21st century learners with the programs that we currently have. And finally, folks, it's the experience that Victoria offers our kids. It is the smallest elementary school in this district, numbering around 360 kids, K through 6. But it has a school culture that reflects that small neighborhood school feel, where all of our kids know one another, our staff knows all of the kids, and our parents know all of the kids. It is the experience that defines the Victoria way. So why not Victoria? And why not Victoria now? And I would like to turn it over to my colleague Gabe Del Real.
All right, me again. So I want to talk to you a little bit about Adams Elementary School and what makes Adams a special place. Adams is an amazing school, and Adams has been an amazing school. Those of you who've been a part of the Adams community can certainly attest to what Adams provides to kids. And at Adams, we have a saying: we are a school with high expectations and a warm and supportive tone. One of the things we believe, the two things we really have to provide first and foremost for kids, is we have to provide a school where kids are challenged. Whether they come in below grade level or they come in well above grade level, they are challenged throughout the school day. But they're done so in a place that's warm, it's safe, and it's supportive. Because we know our kids. We know those kids who need the extra support to catch up, and we know those kids who need the challenge to go on and thrive and continue to be as successful as they have been. One of the things that we have coming up that's very exciting is a new development for our school. Adams has the Modern Scholars Academy, which is going to be, the application procedure will be opening in February. For parents who are interested, we're going to have a kindergarten cohort next fall at Adams Elementary School. And this is specifically designed to address the concerns that I've heard from people who say, if I send my child to Adams, will my child be challenged, or will my child be held back by kids who are performing below grade level? We've already addressed that concern for the kids who are at our school, but we want to go one step further. We want to make it absolutely clear to the community how committed we are to providing students with constant challenge and creating an environment where kids who take part in our screening process will demonstrate a level of proficiency with kindergarten skills before they begin kindergarten, and they will be clustered into a cohort of students in kindergarten in the fall who will have a very challenging and enriching classroom experience. They won't start with a lot of the basic kindergarten skills because they will have already demonstrated they have proficiency with those skills, and their teacher will hit the ground with first day of school, and it will be a school year full of challenge, and every year they will age up into another class from first through sixth grade where they will continue that level of challenge. This is going to be in partnership with the Gifted Students Academy at UCI. We're going to have a 2-year training program for all of the teachers at Adams Elementary so that we can provide these tools to our other students. But for the Modern Scholars Academy, these are kids who have specifically been identified as meeting the criteria for this special academy. And we're going to, as I said, we're going to open the application process in February. It'll be an online application. And then in April, we will contact people and arrange the appointments for the screening. And then we will have a panel. I will not be part of that panel, but we'll have a panel of teachers from Adams Elementary who will review the screenings for the students, the assessment that they take. And then we will contact families who will be admitted to the Modern Scholars Academy. And what we're looking to do is to grow the program. As momentum grows, we will add more grade levels so we don't have to wait till kids from the first cohort age up. We want to see this program grow as quickly as possible, and that's why we're going to start training our teachers beginning in February of this school year. And we're going to have teachers go through 6 full days of training with UCI and provide the subs. So there's a lot of commitment to this program at our school. We want to see a lot of kids involved, and we want to see it support all of the students at Adams Elementary School, but we want kids to come, and we want to bring in and grow the school. We want to bring in families who were concerned and don't know whether or not Adams has the level of challenge they're looking for. We absolutely will. I'm going to be able to go into much, much more detail on December 3rd, so I would invite all of you to join us on December 3rd. I also have some brochures here, so if you're interested after the presentation, I'll hang out for a few minutes. I'd be happy to pass one of these out to you and provide you with a brochure for the Modern Scholars Academy. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Matt Brazenly, the principal of California School.
All right, so California School, we are the home of the Cougars. Everyone knows that well. And like Dr. Peralta said, he was mentioning Nick St. Royal. We have Nick St. Royal at our school as well, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the growth that we've seen in our arts programs, and that's one of the areas that I'd like to highlight today. This year alone, we have had to form a new band and a new show choir because we had so many kids that applied. We went from 45 applications last year to 80 this year, and we turned 0 students away. We formed a beginning band, and we formed an advanced band. We had 110 students apply to our show choir this year. Last year we had 70 students. So we formed a JV show choir and a varsity show choir. Our JV is our first and second graders. It's 45 kids. They're working on 101 Dalmatians right now, and it'll be out soon in January. I highly recommend you come see it. And then our varsity will be working on Beauty and the Beast later in the year, and they will perform those at school. That'll be later in June. They have opportunities, though, inside the band and the show choir. Like I mentioned before, they're performing across Orange County. They go to Knott's Berry Farm, they come to Estancia, they march in the Balboa Island Parade. These kids are getting a great experience inside of these arts programs. We, too, are pushing technology at our site with iPads for instruction. Our teachers have iPads, and they're using them as they teach throughout the day. We also have teachers who are putting in for grants to get small groups of iPads in classrooms. So I have a kindergarten teacher who now has 9, and she'll be soon utilizing those in a small group format in her classroom as the students move through stations. We also have Chromebooks that we'll be putting into place in about 2 weeks. They're on site, and those will be in 5th grade classes with the plan that those will be in 4th, 5th, and 6th within the next 2 years. And we're blessed to have a technology lab, Instructional A, which is sponsored by and funded by our school's foundation. And she takes in classes each and every week. Each class goes in there to learn a new tech lesson each week with her. So it's a fantastic experience for them. Character education is a huge part of what we do at California School. We recognize acts of kindness and compassion, and we focus on the 3 R's of respectful, responsible, and ready. Our students are going to be going through a program called Rachel's Challenge pretty soon on November 18th, and we'll be inviting our parents and the community members as well to come see Rachel's Challenge presentation in the evening. It'll be November 18th at 7. There is a community commitment involved to that too, because we want our community to be an integral part of building the education of the character of these students as well. And there's ongoing education throughout the year that will happen in the classroom along with these assemblies. And the community events are important to me. My first PTA meeting that I went to, my first year as a principal, I can still remember the exact person who said this to me, and she told me that California School was lacking that community feel that Estancia had. And I remembered that, and I still remember that to this day. So when we put community events on, I want to make sure that they're accessible to our entire community and that people can come no matter what amount of money that they have, that they will be able to come to those events. And it's extremely important for me for them to be able to do that. We also focus on outreach within our community. We are blessed to get funds in, but we want to see what can we do to help other people. So we have outreach programs that kids can get involved with. Our student involvement, our students get involved as volunteers. They were just working at our Halloween hoot last Thursday. We had tons of students there, not only current students, but former students coming back that are Twinkle students and Estancia students to help out. And both of our groups, PTA and Foundation, are firmly focused on really promoting our science, technology, and the arts. The final thing I want to say about California School is that we are committed to doing things the best way that we possibly can. And when we can't do those things the best way, we will figure out a way to do it better. So now I'm going to turn it over to Kira Hurst, the principal at Twinkle Middle School.
So welcome. As the only female administrator in this group right now, and the only principal of a middle school, I'm pretty proud to be up here. Most of you can remember being in middle school and what a challenge it was. I have boys who are about this size, and I have boys who are this size. I have girls who are that size and girls who are that size, and they're all hormonal, and they're running around, and they're crying at the drop of a hat. I'm sure some parents have picked their student up and like, why are you crying? I don't know. It's an interesting time. So amongst all that, we have to somehow educate these middle school students, taking what you saw as very rigorous and well-developed elementary programs take that emotional turmoil that these students are going through with their hormones and everything else, their relationship, their peers, and the boy sitting next to them who's more important than the math Common Core that they're learning right now, and turn them into the Estancia students that they become. And we have 2 years to do it. So it's always interesting, and we get a new crop of students every year, and it's been a lot of fun. So we just finished doing our 50th anniversary. And the slogan that we came up with is Generations of Success. And the reasons why we said that is because we had alumni coming back from in the late 60s, early 70s, 80s, 90s, and each alumni that came back talked about their experience at Twinkle, which was, always this marvelous thing. And so I find it strange that a lot of times when I'm out in the community, I'm sort of battling this concept, Twinkle. I went to California and I went to Estancia, but Twinkle. Twinkle's a lovely school, and we have some of the best teachers, I think, in the state, and we have the stats to prove it. So we'll move on through. There's a study, and it's on the California Department of Education, that guides middle school schools to have a rigorous program and meet the needs of middle school students, which are very unique. So some of the things that they ask for is rigor. Are you providing the students a rigorous education? Which we do. We do it through our honors courses. We do it through our extracurricular activities. We do it through our competitions that we have. They also suggest in taking the stand part two that we also include instruction and assessment, and that's a constantly evolving thing. And if anybody's ever been to Twinkle, they know this, the teachers are all about instruction. They meet every week, they collaborate every week, they take department time off, they go into each other's classrooms, we do learning walks, and it's all about becoming a better instructor. Not that they're not great, they're already great, but they want to be even greater. And that's something that drives them constantly. Intervention is key at Twinkle. We have kids coming in at the second grade reading level, and we have students coming in at the 11th and 12th grade reading level. We need to make sure we hit those students who are academically struggling and challenge those students who are our GATE students. And we managed to do that through this really complex master schedule that gives me gray hair. So time. The other thing that's recommended, and there's some other more things, but I'm just hitting upon the key 4 points from taking center stage because that's the core component to our program. Time before, after school, during school, so student has additional time to access their curriculum, find challenging programs, and we do that. Our teachers' classrooms are open 30 to 40 minutes prior to the school day. They're open at nutrition. Teachers open their classroom at lunch. We have a built-in tutorial 2 times a week for 30 minutes. Teachers stay after. We have our libraries open every Wednesday for extra help. So there is a lot of embedded time. There's no, and teachers, their motto is, a student doesn't have a chance to fail because I will hound that student. And they do. Can you please keep the student in at lunch for me? I'm going to teach them math every day at lunch for the next 2 weeks. And it happens. So we do provide a lot of time for our students. Relevance. How do you make what they're learning applicable to a 11, 12, or 13-year-old mind? That's a challenge because they're so interested in things that are not social studies or English, and we do a really good job of infusing all this. We have a lot of technology at our site. We have a lot of, the last couple of years, a lot of STEM activities. You'll see in a minute, we have California's Teachers of the Year for STEM for the entire state of California at my site, 2 of them. So we do a lot of coding. We do a lot of Scratch with more computer engineering. We have robotics, 2 full classes. So we do a lot of that. Our band teacher, for those of you who don't know him, Mr. McFadden, is amazing, a USC graduate. He does not want to go up to high school. He's assured me. You will not steal him. But he does 5 incredibly full classes of music for band, guitar, jazz band prior to school. He takes his kids to competition. They always place. His classroom is never empty. Music is always going on, and I know this because my office is right across from the band, which beginning band at the start of the year is always challenging. Our big focus this year, obviously, is through the Common Core, critical thinking and citing evidence. We work on that daily in all subject areas across all levels. So this is Twinkle Middle School, and it's just going to sort of scroll up and show you the variety of things that we have, both curricular and extracurricular wise. A lot of parents are not aware that we have 16 honors courses, and they're not fluff honor courses. If you've been in those courses, they're challenging. We have regular courses. We have 12 electives, anywhere from yearbook to digital yearbook to ASB to AVID to band to jazz to Spanish for Spanish speakers to robotics. We have the C-STEM robotics class. We're starting Project Lead the Way to feed into Estancia starting next year. We take a multitude of field trips for our students, thanks to our foundation funding that. We do concerts, we do competitions, we have summer programs on our campus, which is amazing. We do the Teen Center. We have Girls World, which helps deal with those girls who are crying, you know, and you know, they're gentle souls, but they're offended when their friend looks at them funny. So we do Girls World. We do pentathlon, which we've placed at various times first, second, third. Last year was fifth, but we got started a little bit late. We're starting the spelling bee for the first time, which Miss Julia Shannon, our science teacher, assures us we're going to win. We have basketball, volleyball, cross-country, track, soccer. Our sports are active. Lots of girls try out. I think we had 80 girls try out for volleyball last year. We had about 60 boys try out for volleyball this year. ASB, we do lunch activities, we do dances, we do lunch competitions. We provide help for students. We have cheerleaders, which I was told may be a little bit challenging, but the cheer advisor from Estancia, Yumi, is amazing, and we had cheerleaders for the first time last year, and they were great. And so we continue to have cheerleaders and our jazz band, and we do plays as well. So all the programs that you're hearing from the elementary schools those students who have found their passion have a place at Twinkle, and we're small. We're small, so our staff has to work twice as hard because they're all wearing many different hats. So just a real brief introduction. This is just our basic the departments that we have and the teachers that we have, and the various components of it, which I'm not going to go in depth to. You can come to my site, you can take a tour and meet these teachers, but what I do want to point out is the amazing quality of teachers that we have. Like I said, we have the C-STEM California Teacher of the Year. That's the entire state of California for primary and secondary. It's a huge, huge award. That's Miss Terry Kling and Yasi Motamed. Yasi's are also California Teacher of the Year for the district last year. Terry Kling is a teacher librarian who is just incredibly passionate about teaching kids great things. We have Rebecca Milam. She's the Gilder Learning Institute American History Master Fellow Teacher, one of 7 in the United States. If you've ever had the privilege of being in her class, she lives and breathes history, and no student will leave her class without truly loving American history. She is my, well, I was a history teacher, so I like to think I was better than her, but there's nobody touching her. We have Jackie Washington, who is our AVID coordinator. She's the TOSA for the district for social studies. She was also the Orange County Teacher of the Year semifinalist. Last year, Costa Mesa's favorite Teacher of the Year competition. I don't know if it was a competition, but our students wrote in. We had 3 out of the 4 in the finalists, and Misty Smith was a finalist. And we have, teachers with 18 with masters, 8 Teachers of the Year. We have 4 that have graduated magna cum laude, 1 Fulbright scholar. We have 1 Chamber Musician of the Year for Orange County, and we have a teacher with a doctorate. And this is at a school of only 670 students. So we have truly amazing teachers. They're there because they love kids and they love Twinkle kids. So how does this all play out? Our API has risen every year. And I didn't go back any further than this, but we gained 46 points in 4 years. We dropped a little bit in 2013, but there was a drop across most schools in the state. But the general trend is up because of the amount of work that teachers do. Another little bit of data, I'm not going to go as in-depth as Dr. Bauermeister did. But the question I get a lot is, will my student get the rigorous curriculum at your school site? And not only that, is it not watered down because you have students who are performing below grade level? So what I asked the district to do for me is to just pull out non-EL students and non-special ed students. Not that I have a bias against that, but I feel profoundly that the CSTs are biased against those students. It's not a level playing field. And we have a large special ed population on my site, which is a gift to all students. If you've ever had a large special ed population, they give more to the school site than they take away. And we have a lot of high fives. We have buddies where our regular students come in and read and have their buddies in special ed. But, and EL, if some students are designated EL and they're the valedictorians, and some students are designated EL and they're emerging English language learners. So I asked them to pull out that data, and this is what I got. So in math, our students across the board proficient, they're hanging right with Corona Del Mar, Costa Mesa, and Ensign. Advanced, hanging right there, a little bit lower in general math, but where they really sort of rise above, and I like to brag about this, is at Twinkle. In the advanced algebra class, we have a 20% student body that's proficient, and that shows in Estancia, because Estancia had how many? 56 students in AP Calculus. So our math department is incredibly strong. It's not watered down curriculum, and they drag those kids kicking and screaming to mastery of math through many, many after school hours. Our EL performance is the same as well if you pull out those particular subgroups. And so if your student is not an EL and not a special education students, they perform right around par with the other schools in the district, a little bit lower in the advanced in 7th grade, and we work very hard, and by 8th grade, those students, I think your clicker thing is not working. Anyway, as you see, we're right there. We're right there. We're no better, we're no worse, we're just as good as all other schools in the district. Okay, so before you push play, this is about a 1-minute video, and I invite any parent who's interested about Twinkle to come by Tuesday or Thursday at 10:45, and we'll give you a tour of the campus. When I have Dr. Navarro or a board member stopping by, or Dr. Henman or Dr. McLaughlin come by, I never email the teachers and say, we've got a VIP coming on campus. I invite anybody to come on at any day, and what you're going to see here in the next minute and a half is what you will see in 90% of my class. You always have that 10% where you're taking a test or something, but what you see is what you get at Twinkle, and it's no dog and pony show. It's what I see on a daily basis because I go through every classroom almost every day. And that sort of concludes my part of talking about Twinkle. It's a marvelous school with wonderful students and people who come on my campus. Every time they come on my campus, they cannot believe how well behaved middle school students are. So I'm very proud of the school. Thank you.
Thank you, Kira. So we heard a little bit about educational data and the great things that are happening at our feeder schools. We have a Estancia alum that we want to talk to you in a minute, but there's a couple more things I have to do. I see that Superintendent Dr. Fred Navarro has come in. Thanks for your support as always and being here. And I also wanted to mention, we're going to have time for questions later on, but I want you to know we're videotaping this because we're putting it on our school website. Just want to make sure that you know anything you say will show up on our school website. So just had to do that disclaimer up front. And so with that now, our Estancia alum, Tyler Andrews, in 2009, and her brother Derek graduated in 2013. So, come on.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I'm Tyler Andrews. Like Dr. Bauermeister said, I graduated from Estancia in 2009, and I'm really excited to be up here. This is probably one of my favorite places to be, back at Estancia. I graduated from Estancia, and then I went to Cal State San Bernardino, where I graduated in 2013 in 4 years. From there, I currently work for Gallo Wine Company. I sell wine and spirits in both Huntington Beach and Costa Mesa. So if you see any beautiful wine displays, that would be me. Yes, you're welcome. I am a product of the Estancia Zone, proud Adams All-Star, proud Twinkle Trojan, and of course, proud Estancia Eagle. And I'm very, very proud of going to public school. When I was in kindergarten through 3rd grade, I attended elementary school in Huntington Beach, but I played AYSO soccer in Costa Mesa. And another Adams parent looked at my mom, and my mom was saying, you know, what do you think the difference is between Huntington Beach schools and Costa Mesa schools? And she said, there is no difference. You are going to decide as a Costa Mesa parent whether you're going to be part of the problem or part of the solution. The next year, I started at Adams Elementary School with my brother, Derek, who was in 1st grade and I was in 4th. From Adams, again, I went to Twinkle, and I was very hormonal, and I know exactly what she was talking about. My current boyfriend went there, and I just remember him just hating him and loving him all the same time, and him smelling good and smelling bad, and, you know, it was just crazy. I mean, middle school is crazy. But I was happy to be at Twinkle, and some of the teachers I had there are still there, and rigor was never a problem. I graduated with honors in college, and I can tell you Twinkle prepared me for that. Going into Estancia, I think everything that flashed up on the board I took advantage of. I swam and played water polo here. I grew up swimming, but I think I could tell you that I don't think I could have swam or played water polo in Huntington Beach or at Newport Harbor because, frankly, I probably wasn't good enough. But here at Estancia, I excelled, and I became a fantastic water polo player and a really great swimmer because Estancia provided that for me. My sophomore, junior, and senior year competed at CIF in swimming and loved it. Another thing I did here was I was part of ASB. I joined ASB as a sophomore, did little tiny things like decorated for prom and homecoming, and then took a bigger position my junior year, and my senior year I was ASB president, where I got to work very closely with Art Perry and Mr. DiAgostino, where I've never felt so empowered as a student to make my own decisions. I ran a team of 50 students as a 17-year-old, and we did a great job. We did a great job. We had more students at prom than any time at Estancia, and it was great. I can't say anything more about that. I went on from there to go to Cal State San Bernardino, where I graduated in 4 years. My degree is a Bachelor's of Science in Public Health Education. I took biology, anatomy, physiology, all my freshman year, microbiology, and Miss De Los Santos' class, AP Biology, was way hard, like way harder than most of the college classes I took, which made me appreciate the education I received here. While there also, I was in a sorority. I took a position right away, and by my junior year, I was president of my sorority. I know, shocker. I ran an executive board through that. I had 2 meetings a week, worked with alumni, and my sorority consisted of over 100 women. That year, we received Most Outstanding Greek Organization at Cal State San Bernardino, which we competed against 21 other organizations. We also were recognized as one of the top schools, top chapters in the United States and Canada. And I like to think that I had something to do with that as president. So moving on to Gallo and my 9 months there so far. I'm a leader on my team, already being looked at to be promoted to a district manager. And I love it. I think that Estancia and my ASB experience, as well as my college experience, makes me very comfortable to talking to all different types of people. I work with everyone. I work with everyone in stores, store managers, district managers, VPs of all different kinds of companies. So it all has come together really well. Like I said, I am a product of public school, and it really hurts me when people talk poorly about the schools I went to, Adams, Twinkle, Estancia. Public school is a reflection of where you live. Costa Mesa is both, it's everything, and it has tons of culture. I grew up in Mesa Verde. My best friend's parents immigrated here from different countries. My boyfriend grew up on Joanne Street. All 3 of us are college graduates and have professional positions. And I think that the different cultures that are here at Estancia have made me the person I am. And I'm very proud to have gone to public school. I don't think I would have excelled as well as I did in college if I hadn't have been as prepared as I am now. And yeah, so, you know, when you look at statistics like they were showing where Estancia has 73% Hispanic and Latino students, and, you know, being blonde-haired, blue-eyed, white female, I am a minority here, and I was at every school, but that was never an issue. I was happy to be here, happy to have the friends I had, happy to have the experiences I did. We had a rockin' soccer team, I can tell you that. And yeah, it was fantastic, and I wouldn't change it for the world. So yeah, just looking at all of you tonight, I'm so glad there's so many people here. I challenge you to think about where you're sending your children to school. Definitely consider Estancia and all the public schools available to you. And just think back to what that woman said to my mom that day. Are you gonna be part of the problem or part of the solution? Because this is a great place to be. Thank you.
We got it back up. Thanks, Tyler. So we're going to end with the slide, or start with the slide we ended with before, the 3 reasons to send your kids to Estancia. A strong sense of community, and I think Tyler hit on it very well. Plus, again, you see the board members here tonight. Their superintendent is here. All of you are here. There are tons of kids at this school that their parents went to this school and are very proud of this campus, as well they should be. So a strong sense of community. The second is endless opportunities to succeed. I'll go over that in a minute. And the third one is a rigorous college prep curriculum, which we'll go over in more detail. So, as Tyler said, we have 23 varsity sports here, and one of the great things about Estancia is we have kids that have the ability to play multiple sports. Instead of sometimes at big schools where you have to just focus on one sport, you can play a multitude of sports. And I know when I was a freshman, and truth be told, I went to Costa Mesa High School as well. When I was a freshman, I played baseball, basketball, and football. If they would have made me choose one sport as a freshman, I probably would have picked basketball. That was my favorite sport. I was not going to go anywhere in basketball. And so I kept on with my other sports, ended up playing a little bit of college baseball. And again, that ability to play different sports, I think, always helps kids. But not only can our kids play different sports, they can be involved in drama. They can be involved in clubs, all the APs, and still do all of those things here at Estancia. And by the way, our football team is playing for the Orange Coast League Championship tomorrow night at 7 o'clock in the stadium. So we have very successful teams as well. Some of these other opportunities is, again, we have a full slate of advanced placement and honors classes. We started AP and SAT prep classes for our higher end kids, again, to prepare them for colleges. We also started an AP boot camp last year. So a week before school starts, Our AP teachers come in and they're available for their kids to help them with the rigor and the reading that's going to be happening in their AP classes, but also to help them with their summer assignments. So some of those kids maybe that aren't sure if they can do the work, we have teachers available for them to help them in those AP boot camps. PSAT testing for all sophomores this year, our district paid for that for all of our kids to see the rigor that they will need to have. Again, we have a full slate of electives. I'm not going to go over all of them, but Spanish and French, medical terminology, sports medicine, and emergency medical training, our emergency medical class. We also have, I always hear people say, yeah, I wish they still had wood shop. We do have wood shop, construction tech 1 and 2. We have art, ceramics, painting. We added AP human geography for freshmen last year and AP psychology last year. We have a great AVID program, which is really the extra support that those middle kids need to be able to go to college. They go and visit college campuses. They have college tutors from UCI. They're tutored at SOY. And again, it's those middle kids that just need that little extra support to be able to get to college. Our science electives, statistics, weight training, and you heard Tim McFadden is a great band teacher at Twinkle. We have got a great band teacher now at Estancia. Her second year, Stacy Nakato, who's doing jazz band, marching band, guitar, and choir. She started at the beginning of last year with 6 kids in marching band. We now have over 30, and next year we'll have over 50. Within a couple years, we'll have over 100. She is really building up that program to something that we'll all be very proud of. So electives we'll be adding next year are AP Statistics, AP Music Appreciation, and Principles of Engineering and Design we'll talk about. And then the following year we want to add AP Computer Science. Our goal is within 2 years that every senior that graduates from Estancia will have taken at least one AP class. The only way to do that is to broaden, have a breadth of AP classes that kids can take. But again, we did have 540 kids in AP seats this year. Other academic opportunities as well, our award-winning drama program. The play that's starting next weekend is called Whisper All the Time. It's actually written by an Estancia High School alumni, which we're really excited about. So the next 2 weekends, November 14th and 15th, November 21 and 22. If you love the arts, you've got to come see our plays. They are fantastic. It's great entertainment. Bring the whole family, bring the neighborhood. It's great stuff. We also have academic decathlon. We're in our 3rd year. We'll have 4 teams this year. Joe Havens is doing a great job with them. A great youth and government program where kids actually go up to Sacramento. They write bills. They argue the bills. They vote on bills. It's just like being in the government. Our field studies program, I would invite you to come back. Hopefully you got a flyer out there on December 8th. We're having a science showcase night. We'll have a camp set out on the lawn out there, but our field studies program actually goes out to Salton Sea and different places and actually camps out. They do digs, and it's a great program. We have a skateboard club. When you came in, you may have seen kids skateboarding out there. They're skateboarding all over the place. California Scholarship Federation, National Honor Society are growing programs as well. Fellowship of Christian Athletes we have, and then next year we are hoping to start a debate team. We're in the beginning stages now, and also start a dance club as well. Basically, anything kids are interested in, we want to be able to provide that for them. And again, with the support of our board, we have lots of elective, we have lots of programs to meet the needs of all of our kids. At the same time, we have a rigorous college prep curriculum, advanced placement success. Again, last year we had 42% of our kids got a 3 or better on the AP test. This year it jumped to 62%. Last year we had 323 kids in AP classes. This year 540. So you see our kids are having greater success, and we're pushing a lot more kids into those AP programs. We have the most kids in AP Calculus in the district. We have more numbers than Costa Mesa and Newport Harbor. We have more percentage-wise than Corona Del Mar. We have 56 kids in AP Calc this year, the most we've had in years. We had a college application drop-in day on Wednesday. We had over 120 kids to come in to meet with their counselors to get help on their college applications, and they're applying to colleges all over the country, Ivy League schools, all the UCs, of the privates, all over the country. It's a great thing. Last year we had 181 kids move in or come to Estancia last year that had not gone to Twinkle or Estancia. We had 54 come in from Huntington Beach schools and other surrounding schools. So we have a lot of kids coming to check us out. Our Casey pass rates are above 80%. They have been the last 2 years. Math this year was 84%. English last year was 85%. We dipped a little bit this year. Our graduation rate is over 93%. We have the highest rate of school attendance in the district. Our kids come to school. And Signature Academies, we started the Engineering and Design Academy this year. We were planning on starting Biomed next year. It looks like we're going to push that back. We want to make sure we're ready to start that, so it looks like it's going to be the following year. And then Animation 16, 17 as well. And these are some of the colleges that our kids have gone to over the last few years: Harvard, Cornell, all the UCs, all the state schools. We have a gal that got a scholarship to University of Oklahoma rowing this past year. We had another gal that got a track scholarship to UCI. So our kids go out to all the best colleges in the country. Articulation with our feeder schools, you heard some of it. One of the things, and again, our board was kind enough to allot the money for us to have a summer reading academy. And so 3 years ago, we started a summer reading academy for kids that were 3 grade levels or more behind in reading. 4 years ago, our incoming kids from Twinkle, 46% of those kids were 3 grade levels or more behind in reading. Because of the summer reading program, that number went down to then 41%, then 37%, and this year it was 31%. So we expect that number to keep going down. Our number of English language learners continues to go down as well. AP pathways at our feeder schools, we talked about this a little bit. We already started the math competition. I think Matt talked about that. We had 38 students from 3 different schools at Twinkle the other day competing in a really rigorous math competition. We'll have a competition once a month throughout the rest of the year, and at the end of the year, the school will get the Mathlete Award for the high school, the school that does the best in that math competition. And we'll be adding more of those high-end things for our feeder school kids to prepare them for our AP classes and to also get more kids into that AP pipeline. Athletics, we'll be working with Twinkle to help them with some equipment. We'll be providing some coaches for them, doing some clinics for them as well, to really use Twinkle as a feeder program for Estancia High School athletics. We have a great plan going right now with them. We had summer sports camp. This was the second year that we've had summer sports camp. Maybe some of your kids were involved, but it was a 5-week program in concert with the city of Costa Mesa, a partnership, again, part of that community that we talk about. But we had 12 sports over the summer. We had 300 kids involved with a free summer sports camp for all of them. The city of Costa Mesa paid our coaches to run that summer camp for our kids, and so we had 900 kids on campus for our summer reading program. We had 300 kids on campus for our summer sports camp. And so again, it was a busy summer for all those kids, but it was awesome. I put pep rallies on there. Twinkle just had their first pep rally, and so we sent over our cheerleaders and our football players over, and it was a great event. California was there, and again, it just shows some of the things we're doing with our local feeder schools. Signature Academies, Twinkle will be starting a green technology class, I believe next year. They already have robotics, and again, the feeder schools will have a rotation of our different academies coming down the pike in the next couple years to feed our academies and our AP pathway program. We initially called our academies E-Tech, but we've moved to E to the second power. We kind of like that little logo, and we'll talk to our community and our parents and see what they think about that. But the thing about the E-Tech or the E to the second power is it's really a pragmatic entry into the real world. It's, again, these kids, they can still go through all the AP classes, they can go through the honors classes, but if they want to be an engineer or design, they can go through our Engineering and Design Academy. They'll have preferred entry into Cal Poly Pomona. They'll graduate with the Seal of Excellence, and that signature really, it gives them a mark when they go out. They'll have a leg up on any other student applying to engineering or design schools throughout the country. So 14 and 15, we started this year with a cohort group of 30 ninth graders in Intro to Engineering. Next year in 10th grade, they'll be taking Principles of Engineering. We'll have another 9th grade cohort. And then in 16, 17, we'll have a choice of classes. They can take either aerospace, civil engineering, computer integrated manufacturing. There's a couple others, but those are probably the ones they'll get to choose as a class which one they're most interested in. And then in 17, 18, for the engineering and design course, we'll have a capstone class. We'll actually go out into the field. We'll have internships. We'll have professionals in the class helping them with really hands-on projects, again, to prepare them for engineering and design. In 15, 16, again, it looks like now we're going to push that back to 16, 17. We'll start a Biomed Academy with kind of the same type of course sequence. And 16, 17, we'll start our Animation Academy as well. And so again, the 3 reasons to send your kids to Estancia, where we inspire students to succeed, is a strong sense of community, endless opportunities to succeed, and a rigorous college prep curriculum. And so with that now, I'm going to call up our first parent speaker. And Mark Hubbard, I think I saw come in, right? He was coming from the airport. Mark Hubbard has a daughter that's a senior this year, Jane. His older daughter, Jackie, graduated last year and went off to college. And so Mark is going to talk to us about, the title is Come Take a Look at Us.
Well, thank you, Dr. B. Thank you all for the opportunity to be with you tonight. This is absolutely amazing as I look out and I see how many of you are here. And I know why you're here. It's because you care about your family. You care about your children. You want the very best for them. And you're making decisions now of where they're going to take those next steps, whether it's in the early education or as they're on their way into here. Into Estancia. I was in that same position years ago. Laura and I have 5 children. Dr. B just mentioned I just dropped Laura off at LAX. Who has to do that commute every day from Los Angeles here? God bless you, my friend. Oh my gosh. She's on her way to see one of our daughters, lives in Uganda. She's on her way to go visit my Jules. But in any event, I was in that same position 5 years ago with our 5 children. Laura, my wife, is a 1977 alum of Estancia High School. So that was one of the decisions we had to make. We live right here in the community, and we drive by this campus every day. But I'm ashamed in a sense, and I confess to you now, I did not do what you're doing here tonight. I made a decision by a drive-by, and I looked at the demographic, and I went and I read the Daily Pilot, and I looked at the test scores, and I said, my kids deserve better. A totally uneducated decision, a total just a horrible approach, and that's why I applaud you for what you're doing here tonight. Because I'm here to tell you that I did the out-of-district transfer for my 5 children. They went to the big box on the other side of the river, and they started their education. And it wasn't until the last 2 said, this is awful, can we consider going to Estancia? And then it hit me. Absolutely, you can. And I want to tell you why, and I want to address it real quickly off of these 3 points that are so succinct and so good, and for what I think you should focus on as you leave here tonight. These are the 3 reasons why this is a great place. Number 1, a sense of community. I invite you to call Dr. B. Come spend time. Walk into this quad at lunchtime where it's packed full of kids. Feel that sense of community. But look around you. Watch the interaction of the kids. I went to Cal State Fullerton. I spent a lifetime in college. And I would go to school and I would go home. I was a commuter student. That was the experience my children unfortunately experienced in the big box on the other side of the river. They would go to school and they'd come back because it's so big, it's so encumbering, it's so difficult really to engage and be involved in a school and having a community around you. And let me talk just very bluntly and specifically to you parents. It is very difficult to build a sense of community when you spend a lot of time driving to these other campuses where I could walk to the football games. I can jump in the car on a rainy day and be here to pick up my daughter in 3 minutes, as opposed to for some that choose schools far away. I have friends that one way, 45 minutes to take their kids to school every day, and they do that twice a day. You will have an opportunity to build a great sense of community as your children build a great sense of community here. Number 2, endless opportunities. If I have a highlighter, I would underline endless so many times. This is the place of opportunity. back to the big box on the other side of the river. And this is not a denigration of the big box on the other side of the river. Please understand that. But I'll give you a story. My daughter's a great athlete. A little biased, but she is a great athlete. And she hadn't played volleyball, decided to play volleyball, and she tried out for the team, and she made it. We had a conversation with the coach. This is her freshman year. We had a conversation with the coach. Tell me about the opportunities in the next few years. And the coach said, and it was a group of 2 or 3 parents, I want to be really honest with you, there isn't. The lineups are chosen. The lineups are chosen for the next 3 years because of the eliteness of the players, the eliteness of what was above her. My Jax came here, and by the time she was a senior, she was the starting setter of Estancia's volleyball team. Another funny story, and I always kind of cringe when I tell this story in front of Dr. B. My Jane's my drama queen, literally. And we'll talk about that in a minute, what that really means here. Jane starts the first day of school, and she says to her counselor, so how do I get out of PE? And the counselor said, well, you can go out for a sport. She said, great, which one? And he said, how about golf? Go talk to Coach Perry. Great. Now, that was 3.5 years ago. Jane had never picked up a golf club, didn't know if the ball was square or round. And today, she's the captain of the varsity golf team. That, my friends, is opportunity. That's what it's all about. Can you imagine? There are students here at Estancia, friends, that try out for the swim team to learn how to swim. Now, go back to the multiple big boxes. Can you imagine walking into the swim team, not knowing how to swim, not having been on a swim club team since you were in the womb, and make that team? And they come here, they jump in that pool, they learn how to swim, and by the time the season's over, they're winning matches, they're having a great time, they're part of this community. It's the land of opportunity. If your child wants opportunity to have breadth, to have dimension, to have more in their life, you can't find a better place than these walls. You just can't. My Jackson Brace, she became the senior class president, the president of a fellowship of Christian athletes. She went to Australia with the Australia team. I don't know if you had mentioned that earlier. They do that every year. A contingent goes to Australia. It's a wonderful program to travel internationally. She, varsity soccer, varsity volleyball, and I don't know, there's so many, because she wanted to. And this is the place where she can, because there's opportunity. And then lastly, this is a rigorous, for you students, this is a tough place academically. This is difficult. The AP classes are challenging. The non-AP classes will be just as challenging. But let me tell you the results. Just in the kids that have walked through in my door, in my home, over the last 2 years, there is a young man at Cornell University, and I can't even say it, nuclear biologic medicine degree. There is a student very close to my family that has a full ride to Oklahoma University, an athletic scholarship. My Jackie is at Calvin College. She was accepted at every college that she applied. 2 of our friends are at UCLA. One is at Berkeley. Very difficult to get into Berkeley. Very difficult to get into these schools because they studied hard. They were challenged here. And it's not about GPA. We all know that. It's about those SAT scores. It's about those entrance exams. It's about how to write an essay legibly and intelligently. And they learned that here. So as you think about opportunity, when you think about academics and you think about community, think about Estancia, because it defines their mission here as an institution. So I really hope you give it the great consideration. Okay? Thanks for letting me share.
I see him out running on the river trail all the time. Last Saturday before it rained on us. Thanks, Mark. Next is Larry Haynes. He has a daughter, Samantha, who's a 10th grader here, and his title is Culture Matters. Larry?
Good evening. My name is Larry Haynes. My daughter Samantha is a sophomore here. And my message tonight is for the cynic. My message tonight is for the parent who's skeptical about everything that you've heard. Because I was that guy. I was that guy on the AYSO soccer fields, telling every parent who would listen that my beautiful daughter, no way, no how, no way was going to Estancia. My little green-eyed, blonde-haired baby, who's an athletic star, valedictorian of the private Lutheran school that we were going to, there was no way she was going here. In fact, one of the people that I said that to is in the audience, and a little embarrassed to be here tonight in front of her. And I became a convert. And I became a convert in part because disaster struck. Somebody gave Steve Mensiger my cell phone number, and he just would not leave me alone. And I had call after call after call to say, check this out, give this a shot. And so I did. If you already are planning on going here, I don't know that I have much to say that would add to what we've heard tonight. But again, for the 2 or 3 of you that are out there sitting going, no, not me, not my son, not my daughter, I want to talk to you tonight just briefly. Because as a parent, we're concerned about 2 key things, right? Especially if you have daughters. Probably a little sexist of me to say that, but it's true. You worry about safety, and then you worry about academic opportunity. Now, on the safety issue, right? We all know what I'm talking about right now. We worry, is this a safe place? Will my son or daughter be okay here? Will they be attacked in the hallways and after school? And I remember my daughter also plays club soccer. Last year I was driving her home, and it occurred to me that we hadn't had this conversation. I was like, Sam, so talk to me about school. Do you feel safe? Have you ever felt threatened? Has anybody ever tried to bully you? And it took her about 7 minutes to stop laughing at me, because there was no way that anybody would. It was so far removed from her reality as to be positively absurd. Now, I don't have the data, right? So a lot of what I'm talking about right now is anecdotal, but I'm pretty sure the data would back me up on this, that this school is as safe as any school you can think of anywhere in the district. In addition to my daughter's input, I've had dozens of Estancia kids in my house, in my living room for different clubs, FCA, Young Life, you name it, they're all there, they're all doing their thing, and I'm pretending to be busy in the kitchen somewhere. That is the cleanest counter you've ever seen. But I am pretending to be busy so I can listen in. And there is no evidence of fear. There is no evidence of danger. This is so much crap. This is so much of what's between our ears. It is not rooted in reality. It is not rooted in fact, but it is rooted on something else that we'll talk about in a moment. The second thing that we worry about is academics, because really what we care about, right, is my kid going to get a good education? Are they going to get into a good college so they can get a good job? Bottom line, all the other stuff is fine. It's fun. It's interesting. I will definitely be at the football game tomorrow, but I got to tell you, I'm more interested if my daughter goes to Harvard than if she is the starting defender on her soccer team. Really what I care about is, what is her academic future? And so before I came here, I did do the research, right? And I would actually have broken down the statistics even on a more micro level than what's been presented to you today. Because when you consider the academic performance of like groups with like groups, there is no difference with Estancia versus any other school that you can think of when you compare like groups to like groups. You have to do your research, though. You have to be specific and focused on what you're researching. Is it rigorous? Well, before my daughter stepped foot on campus, she was accepted into the honors program. She also was an AP student. And before she stepped foot on here in Mrs. Dickey's class, her honors English class, she wrote what is the equivalency of a 50-page term paper before her first day of high school, whereas she did a 50-page regurgitation of Bullfinch's mythology. Any of you can do that? And it was overwhelmingly her original work, not the cut and paste stuff that we do when we're undergraduates and then claim as our own work. This was real writing, and it was her. And Ms. Collins had her do exactly the same thing this summer, and so on and so forth. But it's probably best told with an anecdote. We're creating a small shrine of Mr. Havens that sits on our mantelpiece at home because he is the most spectacular advisor you could possibly have. And he's personally met with my wife and I, and he has made it his personal mission to make sure that my daughter is eligible to go to an Ivy League school if she wants to. And he is not going to let her off the hook. And I owe this man an email. I'm ashamed that it's taken me so long to get to him, because about 2 weeks ago, he pulled my daughter out of class into his office, right? He's like, Samantha, sit down. We're talking. And God forbid, because she's a 4-point-something student, she, at that moment, had a B+ in one of her classes. She's brought it up since. And he said, you know, you want to talk to me about what's going on here? Now, that might not sound like much to you. My 15-year-old daughter doesn't really listen to me like I think she should. She certainly doesn't listen to her mother any better, trust me. But she will listen to her teachers. She will listen to Mr. Havens. He can pull her in and get her to get her act together in a way that I couldn't do. I just don't believe for a second that that would happen at Edison, which is where we were considering going. I don't believe for a second that would happen at Corona Del Mar. I don't believe for a second that would happen in so many of the other schools. I may be wrong. I may be wrong, but I don't think so. I know my daughter went to private school, K through 8, was valedictorian, and was athlete of the year, and she has been challenged every single day that she has been here. We have lacked for absolutely nothing. Let me conclude with this, and this is where maybe the happy talk stops. Because right now, I'm talking in code. And a lot of us have, right? I'm skirting the issue here. We don't always want to send our kids here because of the demographics. Because it's more Latino than Anglo, we think, there must be gangbangers roaming the hallways. This must be hell on wheels here. These kids must be lazy. And their parents must not value education. I was one of those parents who thought that. I was that guy shooting my mouth off. And it was based on nothing but racism. You know it, and I know it. I'm trying not to make too much eye contact because I don't want to condemn anyone. Maybe I'm the worst person in this room. I don't think so. I think I'm a lot like the people in this room. And that fear, and that ignorance, and that hate, and that stupidity was based on nothing but racism. And I could not possibly be more ashamed. Because let me tell you a little something about these kids that we're so afraid of. Now, in my family, we have fairly conservative values. We really do believe in family values that so many of us give lip service to. These kids that we've been so afraid of are the ones chastising my daughter for being ungrateful. They're the ones keeping her out of trouble. They're the ones wondering why she's not more respectful to her mother and why she doesn't play with her younger sister more. We talk about family values. Let's not be hypocrites. What I thought might be a weakness is a strength. This is a fantastic school. My daughter could have gone anywhere. I am the CEO of a very successful nonprofit. I am a professor at Vanguard University. I have extremely high standards in terms of performance and academics and anything else. And I am, frankly, a snob. And I have never been let down one day here. If that speaks to any of you, if any of you have any further questions, I'll be here as late as needed. Come talk to me afterwards. Come here. You will not be disappointed. Thank you.
And now we'll finish up with one of my favorite people in the world, Dr. Linda Tenno, who is a former principal at Victoria School, recently retired, and one of the best educators I have ever worked with. She's also the parent of Alex and Andrew, who graduated here a few years ago, and she's going to talk about her children and her experience here at Estancia and in our zone. Linda Tenno.
Well, many of the things that I was going to say, of course, have already been said. This is a wonderful place for kids. I was very, very fortunate to be a part of this zone. I was another one that I used to be a principal in Garden Grove District. So I took my kids there when they were younger. And I was on I believe it was the baseball field. I believe Bob Knapp over there was the coach of one or the other of my children. And I was talking to Kathleen Andrews, whose daughter Ty you heard, and Jennifer Knapp. And they were talking about how great Twinkle was. And I thought, oh, really? Okay. At that time, I was making some career changes and decided I wasn't going to be a principal for a while due to some health issues. So I wanted my kids to be closer to home. So we came here in 2004, and Twinkle at that time was a 6, 7, 8. So my older son, Andrew, started in 6th grade there. My younger son started in 5th grade at Victoria, and I also was sharing a teaching contract at Victoria at that time. So over the years, I shared a teaching contract, a principal contract, became full-time principal, was a parent at Victoria, was a parent at Twinkle, and was a parent at Estancia. So I don't know which hat I should put on now, but anyway, all of those hats led me to a wonderful experience for my kids. Now, being an educator, and my husband also was an educator, we would have been the first ones to pull our kids if we didn't think that this was the right place for them. Well, this was absolutely the right place for them. Victoria was the right place, Twinkle was the right place, Estancia was certainly the right place. What can I tell you about their experiences? All the 3 schools that my children attended have wonderful teachers. They do provide that differentiated instruction to meet the needs of the high-achieving kids, the kids that are struggling, the English language learners, the kids with special needs. They do a wonderful, wonderful job. That sense of community is so present in all of the schools. And the diversity, we celebrate that at Victoria, at Twinkle, and Estancia. And I have to tell you, my younger son, who's, I'll talk about where he is in a minute, but the college that he chose to attend is probably the most diverse of the UCs in California. And it is wonderful. He has such great experiences, both my boys did, of getting to be friends with kids from all socioeconomic levels, all different groups, that he's comfortable, both of my boys are comfortable in any situation. They can hold their own in any situation. So why did we choose Victoria, Estancia, Twinkle, and Estancia? That sense of community, the rigorous curriculum, excellent, excellent teachers all the way through. I can tell you without a doubt. And being in the profession, I've had the opportunity to work with many, many teachers over the years. The teachers at our zone schools are exemplary. They are wonderful. The variety of activities that we were talking about, that children or students, when they get to high school, can choose anything. If they want to be in drama, if they want to be in a music program, if they want to be in ASB. My 2 boys played varsity football. They also, well, freshman JV and varsity football. They also played basketball for a while. My younger one didn't, just like Dr. B, basketball was not in his future because he ended up about 5'6", and so he knew. But 5'6" and about 130 pounds. He was part of the football program for 4 years here, freshman, JV, varsity. If he had been at Edison, he wouldn't even have had a prayer of making the team. He started on special teams as a senior. He was a defensive player. He got in often. And he won the award for most inspiring student as a football player at Estancia High School. This is a kid that wouldn't even have had a shot somewhere else. Some of the other things, again, the AP classes, and oh my goodness, the things that they are proposing and they are adding now are just so exciting. I wish I could send my kids back to take advantage of some of those things that they have in place now. They are fabulous. Mark Hubbard talked a little about the Australian exchange program, and that's another wonderful program that my younger son was able to participate in. He went to Australia with the group. I currently am working a little bit with that program, and it's a great experience for our kids. And then, again, the advantages of a small school, it is a family. It's very similar to my experiences at Victoria, where it's truly a family and people care so much about each other. The positive and inclusive school climate, the caring and professional teachers, great leadership and administration at all of our zone schools, motivated students, wonderful parent support, and something that we just touched on a little bit about how I think in this zone we really, really have concentrated on education of the whole child. Not just the academics, but the social and emotional development of our students as well. And I've done some research. I worked for the county for a while in their character education program, and I've done some research about traits that employers are looking for. And of course, they want their applicants to have a sense of proficiency in English, reading, communication, math skills, and those things. But those aren't even tops on the list of what they're looking for, because they can teach most of those things. But the types of things that employers are looking for, and this is from aboutcareers.com, they're looking for a strong work ethic, they're looking for dependability, responsibility, positive attitude, adaptability, honesty and integrity, self-motivation, a desire to grow and learn, strong self-confidence, professionalism, and loyalty. And I can tell you without a doubt, the schools in our zone work really hard to instill those character traits in all of our students. And I really firmly believe as an educator that the role of educating children is a true partnership. It has to be a triangle, the school, the students, and the home. And you will find that in all of our zone schools. So I'm going to brag a little bit about my own children. My son Andrew is a senior at USC. He graduated #1 in his class here at Estancia a few years back. There were 3 boys in his class, and they were always duking it out for the #1 spot. Andrew happened to grab it that year. Oh, and by the way, did you know that if your son or daughter graduates in the top 9% of their graduating class at their high school, any high school, they are guaranteed a spot at one of the UC campuses? Now, here we are at Estancia. Your children have a really good chance of being in that top 9%. Now, it may not be Cal or UCLA. Those are fine schools. Did you hear me say that, Bob? Okay, thank you. Those are fine schools, but there are also other UCs that are also very, very fine schools. So my son Andrew was accepted to the School of Engineering at USC, which is a very, very competitive program. It is a really rigorous application project. He will be graduating with a strong B average. Because of all his wonderful AP scores, 4s and 5s, because USC doesn't take 3s, he was able to start USC with, what did I write down here, 32 semester units already completed. When he started his first day at USC, he already had sophomore status. He will graduate in 4 years. Oh, and by the way, he's already interviewing for jobs. He just received an incredible job offer before he's even graduated for a computer development, software development company, because he's a computer science major, back in Virginia, with a salary that, oh my gosh, for a 22-year-old to be able to earn this kind of salary and have a 401k and health benefits and all this kind of stuff in place already at age 22 is remarkable. So that's my older son. My younger son, Alex, is a junior at UC Santa Barbara. And UC Santa Barbara takes 3s, 4s, and 5s on AP exams. So Alex was able to start his freshman year with 40 quarter units already completed, also sophomore status. He really could graduate at the end of this school year, but I'm telling him, don't do that. enjoy being in college one more year, because it's really your last chance before you're out being the big grown-up with the rest of them. But he is doing a great job, too. He also has just been given a new job through the university because he has some retail experience. He worked at Home Depot for a while. They're opening a student convenience store in one of the dorms at UC Santa Barbara, and he's been given a budget of $30,000 in addition to his paycheck to start this store. So he's going to get out of UC Santa Barbara with his poli-sci degree and also this fabulous experience in starting a business, all because of the things he learned at Estancia. Just so you know, I'm going to just talk, because I know some of you are California parents, some of you are Victoria parents, and some of you are Adams parents. And I just want to personalize it a little bit for you. And I'm just going to mention names, first names of kids that I know that went to school and graduated with my kids and where they are now. So from California, there's a student named Nick who is a little bit older, but he's finishing his PhD at UC Davis in, I believe it's kinesiology, with a full ride. There's Frankie, and the Thorpes are right over there. And Frankie is a friend of my son, Alex, and she also goes to UC Santa Barbara. She has a double major in poli-sci and sociology. She's going to go to law school as soon as she graduates. She also has business experience that she's having because she's been promoted to manager of a restaurant in Santa Barbara. Then there's Charlie, who graduated with my son, Andrew. He's at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and he's a business major. There's Connor, who is at Cal State Fullerton. Then from, I'm sure there's many, many more, but those are just close friends of my children. Then from Victoria, and I have a few more on that list because I know these kids. There's Kenya. Kenya came to Victoria as a kindergartner and didn't speak a word of English. Kenya's at UCI now and doing great. There's Dylan, who's at Cal Poly Pomona in the School of Engineering. There's Danielle, who was accepted to the nursing program at Cal State Fullerton. There's Christian and Alicia, who were in my 5th grade class when I taught at Victoria. They received Girls Incorporated scholarships, and they're at Cal State Fullerton. There's Jacob. Heidi. Jacob, who was in my class in 5th grade. He is a sophomore at Cal State Long Beach. I believe he's a history major and wants to be a teacher. One of our proudest graduates from Estancia is someone named Abby. Abby graduated a few years ago. Abby went to Harvard. Abby graduated from Harvard, then took a year and taught in England, and she's now at medical school at University of Pittsburgh. There's Jim, who graduated with Andrew, and he's in the marching band at UCLA. And of course, I know, Bob. I'll look at the UCLA marching band and smile. There's Brooke, who's at San Diego State University. There's Natalie, who's at Cal Poly Pomona. The lists go on and on. From Adams, there's so many. There's Riley, who's a junior at Berkeley in poli-sci. There's Maddie, who graduated from UC Santa Barbara. That's Riley's sister. There's another Connor, who's at University of Arizona. He's a senior. There's Derek, who is Tyler's brother, Tyler who spoke. He's at Cal State Fullerton. There's Sarah, who's at USC. Stephen at Cal State Fullerton. Max at San Diego State. Jake at UCLA. And that's the only team for UCLA I will root for is their golf team because Jake plays golf over there. There's Christy at UCLA. The lists go on and on and on. So I want you to know it's not just all, oh, this is a big thing, and these are real kids. And these are kids that have gone through our schools in our zone, and they have been more than successful, and they continue to be successful. So if you have questions, anything I can answer as a former educator, or as a parent, or as a teacher, or as a principal, please feel free to ask me. I'll be around afterwards for a little bit too. And I'm a lifelong Eagle supporter. I'm also on the Estancia T. Winkle Schools Foundation board, and I will continue to support Estancia as long as I possibly can. So thank you so much.
When I got to Estancia, they told me that Estancia was the best kept secret in the district. We're having this meeting tonight to make sure it's not a secret, so everybody knows the great things happening here. And here's a little clue for all of you people. It doesn't matter where you send your kids are going to be successful. You're involved in their education, they're going to do well. we would like them to come to Estancia. We'll take care of them. We'll make sure they get where you want them to go. We have a small school here, and we would really like them to come to Estancia and think that they would thrive here. We're going to open up for any questions now. Dave, if you want to come up right up front and ask any questions. If you have a pen and you want to write down my number, if you ever want to call me and chat or set up a time to meet or something, my phone number is 714-315-8328. That's my cell number. Don't call me after 10. 714-315-8328.
Good evening. Hi, my name is Shadi McMillan. I'm a resident of Costa Mesa. Unfortunately, my elementary school that's assigned to us is not part of this zone. It seems like we are assigned to College Park.
I went to College Park.
Oh, good.
So
Very good.
I was a cougar.
So did my husband, as a matter of fact. He went to College Park as well. Our concern is that, as a first-time mom and a first-time mother of a eventual future kindergartner, we are looking at, and we interview everybody. We try to get as much information as we can. Our concern is some of the scorecards that we see, and including my school that's assigned, they are in program improvement since 2011. I understand Adams and Victoria are as well, with all due respect to the principals that are here, and I do see how well you are doing and caring for your schools. I would like to have our minds put at rest when it comes to the program improvements. I would like a little bit of explanation on why the annual yearly progress, they're still in there, why the AYP is that way. So if you could please elaborate on that, I would really appreciate it, because next year is an important year for our kids, and we really want them to have a good start.
Absolutely. Again, when I went over the data before, if you look at schools with subgroups with the lowest performing kids, it brings down the overall score of the school. So again, as always, when you look at a data, you always want to look at how your kid's doing and how your kid's subgroup is doing. Let me give you an example. If we had a kid at this school that came in at the 2nd grade reading level, he's in 9th grade. If we increased that kid by 6 reading levels in 1 year, and he was at the 8th grade level, we would be considered a failing school, even though we brought him up 6 grade levels in 1 year because he's not at grade level. On the other side of town, if they had a kid that came into 9th grade at the 12th grade level, if he dropped 2 grade levels in that year, they would still be a California Distinguished School because he's at grade level. So again, which school is failing there? So again, the problem with the old model is it wasn't a growth model. It wasn't where did your kid start and where do they finish. It's just this arbitrary 800 number. Another example I always use is if there's any golfers here, Dr. Martinez and I are going to be golf coaches, right? So we're going to give him Tiger Woods. He gets Tiger Woods, and I'm going to get a kid that's never played golf before. At the end of the year, we'll decide who the better golf coach is by who the better golfer is. Now, who do you think is going to win that? He will. So again, when you look at where our kids go and they grow, the growth that they have every year at some of the underperforming schools, again, the growth is huge. I think Ms. Hirsch said that in 2013, the majority of the schools in the state dropped. Estancia went up 20 points. We were the only school in the county to go up that high. So again, our scores keep going up, but we have, again, a lot of special ed kids that bring down our score. But we want our special ed kids here. It makes a rich population, but that brings down our score. We have a lot of lower socioeconomic kids. That brings down our score. But again, it doesn't bring down our top kids. They're all in AP and honors classes and are going off to great colleges. So again, it's how is your kid doing and how is the subgroup that they're in, how are they doing at that school? That's always the most important data. But again, I can tell you wherever your kid goes, they're going to go fine because you're going to take care of their education and make sure they get it. And I would also suggest any school that you're going to, go in and sit down and talk to the principal because they can walk you through their data. They can show you their programs. And again, I showed you our programs and I forgot about the Australian program. One of the great, we have so many programs here, I couldn't tell you all of them. Again, we do a lot of great things for kids and I guarantee you College Park does as well. And Ms. McCormick is a great principal over there, so go in and talk to the principal. They'll ease your fears. Again, I can't tell you what they're doing at their school, but she sure can. And I can tell you again, at our schools, they're all doing great things.
Hi, I just had a quick question on one of the earlier slides where you were comparing to similar schools. I just wanted to know what is considered a similar school, or how you decide what similar means.
We don't, the state does, and again, they'll look at our percentage of our different subgroups, socioeconomic, our parent education, and again, they look at all of that numbers and they decide which 100 schools are most alike throughout the state. And then we're judged against those 100 schools that are most like us. So for our school, again, they would have probably a similar number of white kids, similar number of Hispanic, similar number of special ed. Again, it's a school similar to us, and again, how are we doing with educating our kids? And again, that's always the thing, is where are you with your kids? And again, our goal every year is to increase all of our kids. It doesn't matter where they start. We want to increase them and again, get them where they need to be. Each kid's going to be different. They have different goals. And again, that's the differentiated instruction that Dr. Tenno talked about. We want to meet the needs of all kids. Anything else? Okay, I hope you'll take me up on coming by and having a tour sometime at Estancia or all of our feeder schools. You're going to see great things, really all the schools in our district. And again, thank you for coming out tonight. We appreciate it, and I'd love to meet with any of you anytime to talk about our school or any of our schools in the district. So thank you and have a good night.